In 1970, on the remote border of Congo and Zambia, deep within the dark, suffocating confines of the Luvuluma copper mine, a drilling crew was working on level 12. These 40 men, hardened by years of labor beneath the earth, were pushing deeper than ever before. Suddenly, their drill bit hit something unexpected. It wasn't copper ore. It was a solid wall of pure black quartz, several meters thick, and it seemed to thrum with a low, resonant hum that vibrated through the very rock around them. The local trackers, men whose families had known this land for generations, had warned against this deep excavation. They spoke of ancient taboos, of a slumbering presence that should not be disturbed. But the mine supervisors, driven by profit and deadlines, dismissed their concerns as superstition. The order was given: breach the wall. At precisely 2 o'clock in the afternoon, under the relentless pressure of the industrial drill, the black quartz shattered. What followed was not the expected explosion of gas or a rush of water. Instead, a silent, impossibly cold draft billowed out from the newly formed void. It was a cold that felt ancient, a cold that didn't just chill the skin, but seemed to freeze the soul. All 40 miners, as if responding to a single, unspoken command, dropped their tools. Their movements became unnervingly synchronized. Without a word, without a single glance back, they walked in a neat line into the darkness beyond the breach, disappearing into a chasm that geological surveys said shouldn't exist. For the next 21 days, the Luvuluma mine was silent, an industrial tomb. The hum from the quartz wall was the only sound, a constant, low-frequency drone that seemed to mock the surface world. No rescue missions could find a trace of the men. It was as if the earth itself had swallowed them whole. Then, 3 weeks to the day, they returned. But they didn't emerge from the mine entrance where they had descended. Instead, they were first spotted walking out of the dense surrounding jungle, moving in perfect, eerie unison. They were still wearing their tattered work clothes, but something was profoundly wrong. Dr. Alistair Finch, the British chief medical officer stationed at the mining camp, was the first to examine them. A man of science and logic, Finch was unprepared for what he would discover. He noted immediately that the men's chests didn't rise and fall. They weren't breathing. Listening with his stethoscope, he heard not the familiar thump-thump of a human heart, but a constant high-pitched mechanical whir, like a tiny, perfectly oiled machine. The men were unresponsive, their gazes fixed on some distant, unseen point. Finch grew increasingly alarmed. He decided to perform an emergency biopsy on one of the miners, a powerfully built man named Bako, hoping to find a clue in his tissue. He prepped his instruments, but as he made the first incision, a sharp crack echoed in the medical tent. The surgical-grade steel scalpel had snapped clean in half against Bako's skin, which now had the gray, polished sheen of hematite. It didn't even leave a scratch. In a fit of desperate, terrified curiosity, Finch managed to acquire a diamond-tipped industrial drill bit. With shaking hands, he finally penetrated the outer layer of Bako's skin. There was no blood, no muscle tissue, no organs, no bone. Inside, where a human anatomy should be, was a complex, shimmering lattice of what looked like organic metal and pulsing, fiber-optic filaments. The horrifying truth dawned on Dr. Finch. The 40 miners hadn't just been changed. They had been hollowed out, their biological systems harvested and replaced. Their bodies were now nothing more than sophisticated bipedal exoskeletons, piloted by an intelligence that was utterly alien. The most disturbing transformation, however, was in their eyes. The sclera, the iris, the pupil, all were gone. In their place were 2 perfect orbs of solid, light-absorbing black. The medical staff dubbed it full black eye syndrome. Witnesses who were forced to interact with the returned miners reported a deeply unsettling psychic phenomenon. They claimed that looking into those void-like eyes felt like a mental violation, a feeling they described as a psychic drain, as if their own thoughts and memories were being actively scanned, copied, and then deleted. These were not the men who had descended into level 12. These were something else, something ancient from the lithosphere, the deep rock layer of the earth. They were body snatchers from a world beneath our own. They never spoke with their mouths, but camp personnel would be overcome with intense nausea and spontaneous nosebleeds, symptoms later attributed to subsonic frequencies emanating from the miners' chests. They weren't here to rejoin society. They were silent observers, scouts sent to the surface to see a world that was new to them after perhaps millions of years of subterranean existence. The situation became untenable. The mining corporation, in collaboration with government authorities, made a desperate decision. The Luvuluma mine was to be permanently sealed. 10,000 tons of concrete were poured into the shaft, entombing the black quartz wall and the terrifying void behind it. It was a frantic attempt to bury their monumental mistake. Shortly after the sealing of the mine, the 40 returned miners vanished. Just as they had appeared from the jungle, they walked back into its depths in single file and were never seen again. The incident was classified, covered up, and relegated to the status of a local ghost story, a cautionary tale for miners who dared to dig too deep. The world moved on, and the story of Luvuluma was forgotten. But the story doesn't end in 1970. Fast forward to 2026. With advancements in satellite technology, previously classified geological data is being re-examined. Thermal imaging of the African continent has revealed a chilling and inexplicable reality. Deep beneath the African tectonic plate, a massive heat signature, roughly the size of a large city, is moving. It's not a magma plume. Its thermal profile is all wrong, and its movement is slow, deliberate, and intelligent. It appears to be following a calculated path, heading directly toward major subterranean aquifers, and alarmingly the foundations of densely populated urban centers. The implications are staggering. The breach at the Luvuluma mine wasn't an accident. It wasn't an invasion. It was an invitation, a doorbell rung from the surface world, announcing our presence to the landlords downstairs. And after decades of silent observation, the guests, the true inhabitants of this planet, have finally started to move. We spend so much time and resources gazing at the stars, searching for signs of extraterrestrial life, convinced that any threat will come from above. We forget that we live on a paper-thin crust, floating on a molten core with miles of unexplored world right beneath our feet. We don't own this planet. We are merely its current tenants. The 40 miners of Luvuluma were just the first message, a preliminary field survey. Now the full-scale reclamation may be beginning. So, the next time you feel a strange vibration in the ground beneath you, a low hum that doesn't quite match the rhythm of a passing truck or a distant earthquake, pause and listen. It might not be tectonic activity. It might be the sound of something waking up, something moving in the unfathomable darkness below. And if you feel it, it might already be too late. You are not standing on solid ground. You are standing on their ceiling. Thank you for watching. If you find these kinds of deep dive investigations compelling, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell.